Hello and welcome to the discussion on international, bilateral and international issues. Some of you are totally new to this class right now because I have joined as part of the new batches which you have announced. Some of you are already there which you attended my classes earlier also. So, there is no problem, either way we have to study the whole thing. And so, in today's discussion, I will be talking about Indo-Pak relations. In fact, it is part of our foreign policy and the bilateral international issues. These are all predominantly stories, so it is not difficult, but you should know these stories, then only you will be able to answer the kind of questions which are asked in the exam. So, that background story is very important. So, in our bilateral issues, international issues, my focus is on the background stories, so that you know what has actually happened at that time, and then depending upon the question we will have to use it. So, that is the whole idea. So, in this discussion in today I will be talking various aspects of Indo-Pak relations. Some of the things I have discussed earlier. So, that is already uploaded for all of you, and those who have not watched or have not attended those classes. A couple of classes on Indo-Pak relations I have already, many videos I have already uploaded. So, you please those who have not seen, you please attend that today after the class. It will be highly useful for you. You will get a clue about what is going around or what has happened at that time between India and Pakistan. So, today's discussion I am not clubbing it with what has happened before. So, absolutely no problem, as far as your understanding is concerned, you will be able to understand everything what I am going to speak now, and there will not be any confusion whatsoever. So, you please do not worry about that particular aspect, you will be getting everything what is required. So, other than, so once the classes are over, those who missed the previous classes or those who joined fresh in this November month, and those who are new to the entire international bilateral issues, my request is a couple of classes I have uploaded, you please watch that. It is very interesting. It is all storytelling between India and Pakistan, various aspects. Okay. So, in today's discussion I would like to talk about the wars between India and Pakistan, especially the 1971 war. So, the first topic which I am going to discuss right now is the Indo-Pak war of 1971. See, in fact, as you know very well, we have fought a couple of wars. We have fought a war of 1948, 47, 48, we fought a war that is predominantly for Kashmir. And then again there was a war, I mean, in that Pakistan captured 1/3 of the territory, that the end result was that. Then in 1965, the war began in Rann of Kutch in Gujarat region, but ultimately it ended up in Kashmir. And again in this war also there was no clear winner, it was a draw. So, in 1947, that 48 war, 47 war immediately after independence, where for the Kashmir, 1/3 of the Kashmir was captured by the Pakistani forces, and we went for a ceasefire, and ultimately we did not get that. That is the POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir today. 65 war was again related to the Rann of Kutch region in Gujarat, and then ultimately spread to Kashmir, but no major exchange of territory, and we have maintained the pre-war in a situation, or rather the line of control, we continued with the same ceasefire line. So, no exchange of territory in 1965, no clear winner, even though India had an upper hand, definitely there was no clear winner in the 1965 war. Then came the 1971 war. This was a decisive war, where India defeated Pakistan for the first time, and we dismembered Pakistan. Pakistan was divided into, or Pakistan lost East Pakistan after the war. So, I will be talking about that particular aspect in this particular discussion. So, Indo-Pak war of 1971, what is the background and how the whole thing has emerged So, that is what I am discussing right now. So, this is also this is 1971 war, we can also call it as the liberation war, the Bangladesh liberation war of 1971, we can say. And see, the whole issue started in Pakistan, because when Pakistan and India was created in 1947. So, Pakistan had two territories, one is the West Pakistan and another the East Pakistan. Both are separated. The conditions, you know it very well. In Pakistan, or rather the Muslim League wanted Pakistan as a separate country by using their theory called the two nation theory. And the philosophy, so we did not agree, our Indian leaders did not agree on this philosophy in the first place. And the philosophy behind the two nation theory is Indians and or Hindus and Muslims cannot stay together. We are two different nations, two different cultures. There is nothing in common between us. That is what the Pakistani leaders claimed, the Muslim League leaders claimed, and that is why they wanted a separate country for, and they claimed that, their claim was that all Muslims can stay together. All Muslims can stay together in a single country, even if they are separated, one in the western side in the Punjab side, another in the eastern side in the Bengal side, separated by India, thousands of kilometers apart, no connection whatsoever. Even then their claim was that they can be together, they can be a single country. But history has proved that you cannot be together like this. Only because you follow the same religion, you will not be able to together. You cannot feel, you cannot create that feeling of oneness and togetherness, because you are far apart, no connection whatsoever. So, anyway, so this two country, or this East Pakistan, West Pakistan was created, and if you look at the West Pakistan and the East Pakistan, a bit of comparison I would like to do. See, West Pakistan, geographically it was more, say, a dry region. East Pakistan is more of a wet region, more rainfall, more monsoon rainfall. West Pakistan has comparatively, it is more like a desert or a drier region, more like a desert region, whereas East Pakistan, the Bengal region, huge rainfall, and the plain region, very fertile land, very fertile and agriculturally very productive. Okay, agricultural productivity was very high, and this is a region of very thickly populated, and the Bengal, even today West Bengal has one of the highest population density in India. West Bengal's population density is very high. Okay, so very high population density. So population density is very high. The agriculturally it is very productive, highly productive agricultural land, and rainfall, very high monsoon rainfall, and it is also the delta of Ganga and Brahmaputra. Even though Indus water, Indus delta is there in West Pakistan, but the Indus water is very less, because it is flowing, Indus after originating from Himalayas and Tibet, Indus is flowing through the desert region, whereas so Indus is flowing into which is led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. India also, please remember, when we talk about the freedom struggle, highly productive agricultural land, and rainfall, very high monsoon rainfall, and it is also the delta of Ganga and Brahmaputra. Even though Indus water, Indus delta is there in West Pakistan, but the Indus water is very less, because it is flowing, Indus after originating from Himalayas and Tibet, Indus is flowing through the desert region, whereas so Indus is flowing into a region where rainfall decreases as it reaches the mouth, whereas in the East Pakistan, Ganga Brahmaputra delta, where the rainfall increases. So it is the the delta of Ganga and Brahmaputra, East Pakistan, Ganga and Brahmaputra. And not only that, one more very interesting aspect about the East Pakistan is it is the Bengali culture, the culture in this region irrespective of the religion, very rich culture Bengal had. Okay. Bengal was not divided by religious sentiments as such, and you please see even in the Indian freedom struggle, if you look at the freedom struggle for India, we know that some of the greatest of the leaders have emerged from Bengal. The culture in East Pakistan was far deeper and superior, we can say. Okay, the Bengali culture, irrespective of their religion, they were deeply engrossed and involved in art, music, dance, all those things. It is very rich culture they had. And the freedom struggle for India also. Please remember, when we talk about the freedom struggle for India, we talk about the freedom struggle originated in Bengal, and maximum freedom fighters emerged from that region in 1880s and all. So, it is a different plane altogether. And if you look at the total population, we can see that suppose 300 member parliament in Pakistan, out of that only 130 members emerged from West Pakistan and almost 160, more than 160. Okay. So, the 160 plus emerged from East Pakistan. I am talking about the parliament. So, the population was more in East, productivity was more in East, then even culture wise and it is quite rich in the East. So, the East Pakistanis, we can say they were much richer than the West Pakistanis. But as far as the Pakistani political setup was concerned, West Pakistan always occupied the political control. The Punjab population, the West Pakistan, the Punjabis, the Sindhis, they captured power, or rather they always held power. So, but the power in the hands of West. West Pakistan always enjoyed the power. They controlled everything from West. East never had a proper share. So, in fact, East did not have the share of power. And this was a major bone of contention. The East Pakistanis were very upset about this. They were always worried about this. They were very upset about not having enough power, and never a person from the East became the president or prime minister in Pakistan. So, finally, when the elections were declared in 1969 and elections were held in 1970, early 1970, elections were held. So, during that time when the elections were held, this time the East Pakistanis, or rather the Bangladeshis, the people of Bengal, they were determined that their person should become the prime minister this time. And the main election, when the elections were held in the East, there was one major party called Awami League. Okay. Awami League in the East, which is led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Okay, Awami League led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And in the West there is one major party, that is Pakistan People's Party. And it is led by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. West Pakistan was led by main major political party, Pakistan's People Party PPP, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and East Pakistan it was Awami League, and Awami League was led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So, the elections took place, and in the East, in fact, the elections were very and a hard fought election in the East. This time, Ab ki baar, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman government type, that was the slogan. and out of the 100, I think 169 total seats were there, 160 plus I said, 169. The Awami League captured except 2 seats, 167 out of 169, and in the 300 member assembly, Awami League automatically got majority without having any seat from the west. In the west, out of the 130 seats, Pakistan People's Party got just 78. Awami League got 0 in the west, but they got almost all seats except 2, all the seats in the east. And similarly, Pakistan People's Party 78 seats in the west and 0 in the east. In the East Pakistan, Pakistan People's Party did not get any seat, but in the West they got out of 130, 78 they got. Whereas Awami League, except 2, all seats in the East, but no seats in the West. Now, when naturally, when Awami League got a majority in the parliament, 300 seats, if you are getting more than 150 means a majority. So everybody expected, including the Awami League chief, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, expected him to be invited by the president at that time. And the president at that time in Pakistan, an army general called General Yahya Khan. General Yahya Khan, he was supposed to invite, everybody expected this president of Pakistan to invite Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who got the majority, to form the government. But that did not happen because the West Pakistanis were not confident, they had no faith and they had no confidence in the East Pakistan leaders. So, General Yahya Khan did not invite Sheikh Mujibur Rahman to form the government, even though he had a majority in the parliament. And instead, this general, the president, I hope you can understand the story. The president invited Pakistan People's Party leader Zulfikar Ali Bhutto to form the government. So, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was asked to form the government instead of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman to be invited. So, this created a big, naturally the people of East Pakistan was very upset. They had this doubt regarding the West Pakistani, then because no East Pakistani has ever become the prime minister, or rather they could not capture power in Pakistan. So, they had this fear. So, this automatically led to a civil war in East Pakistan. And in fact, that is the day, in fact the 25th of March 1971, this is the day when a civil war broke out, when that is the day when they realized that our Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is not going to become the prime minister of Pakistan, he is denied of his legitimate victory. So, that started the civil, and the West Pakistanis, when the civil war broke out. So, their only demand, the East Pakistanis, the Awami League, the demand is Sheikh Mujibur Rahman should be asked to form the government, he should be made the prime minister, that is all. And they are willing to stop everything provided Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is asked to form the government. That is not acceptable to the West Pakistani leaders. That led to a civil war, and Pakistan tried to suppress the people's movement by using force, They used the military and the paramilitary forces to control the uprising in the East Pakistan. So, they wanted to control the uprising in the East Pakistan. So, that led to this civil war to start on 25th of March 1971, and this General Yahya Khan started military crackdown. They wanted, or rather in the East Pakistan, they targeted the Bengali nationalists, the student leaders, the intelligentsia, the religious minorities and the armed personnel. and all of them were targeted, or other even the army of loyal to the Bengali army personnel, they were all targeted by the West Pakistani leaders. And the prime minister elect at that time, the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was arrested and banned all political activities in the east. They banned even newspapers and extended a martial law in East Pakistan. They imposed a martial law, and it was a dark days in East Pakistan. Millions of people got killed. Millions of people got killed. Now, when I say millions, I am using the term very consciously. According to many estimates, at least 3 million people during the civil war in East Pakistan, during that phase, that 1970s, 1971, in those 2 years, at least 3 million people got killed. According to many historians, this is second only to the number of people got killed in the Second World War, where almost 6 million Jews were killed. Okay. So, in the East Pakistan during this phase, almost 3 million people got killed. It is second only to that 6 million Jews were killed in the Second World War. So, you can imagine the kind of bloodshed which took place. It was a bloody phase, and also during this phase almost 10 million refugees entered India, because India was sympathetic to the East Pakistani people's cause because it is music to our ears where Pakistan is in trouble, and also the East Pakistani leaders were very friendly to India. So, almost 10 million refugees entered India during this phase. So, in fact, even today in Assam and all, this 25th March 1971 is very significant, because that is the day when the civil war broke out, and all those who entered before 25th March 1971, they can claim Indian citizenship. All those who entered after 1971, 25th March, we want all of them to go back, because during the civil war time, those who entered, we want them to go back. That is what even the Assam Accord between the ULFA, sorry, not ULFA, the Assam Student Union leaders at that time in 1985, Government of India signed an agreement. Government of India and the student leaders of Assam signed an agreement in 1985, whereby all those who entered before 1971 can claim Indian citizenship, but after 1971 March 25th they cannot. That is because during the civil war time, whoever entered, we want them to go back. Anyway, so that is how the civil war started, and it was a bloody time, and finally the war, the civil war continued, and India gave an ultimatum to to Pakistan when the numbers started increasing, but India actively supported, no doubt regarding this. These the Awami League started a liberation force, called Mukti Bahini. Mukti Bahini force. That means it is a liberation, and they wanted to liberate themselves from Pakistan, and Indian troops who supported them subsequently, we were the Indian troops who joined or entered Pakistan or East Pakistan and supported them, they are called the Mitra Bahini. They are the Indian forces. So, Mukti Bahini and Mitra Bahini. So, anyway, so this finally India entered into the war on 3rd December 1971. Officially India entered into war on 3rd December 1971, when Pakistan attacked India from the west also. In the east the problems were going on, Pakistan attacked India because Pakistan was upset because India was supporting these forces. So, when when they were very clear that India is supporting, and India also gave an ultimatum to Pakistan that you stop all these nonsense, because more than 10 million Pakistani refugees are, East Pakistani refugees are inside India. So, we said it is, we will not be able to manage them. So, we may interfere, like that we said. So, Pakistan, India from the west attacked India from the west, in Punjab side they attacked. So, this is how the official war began on 3rd December 1971. So, you please see, when you can see 25th March 1971, the the civil war, officially, we can say 25th March 1971, and on 3rd December 1971 India entered into the war, or rather officially the war broke out between India and Pakistan. And finally, on 16th of December, it was a short war, 1971, within 13 days Pakistan army surrendered, and in fact Pakistan army signed, and it was a short war. India defeated Pakistan in the 13 days. Pakistan signed the instrument of surrender. Okay, Pakistan signed the instrument of surrender. Pakistan surrendered in front of the Indian troops. That is why we are calling it as Pakistan signed the instrument of surrender on 16th of December 1971. It was surrendered on 16th of December 1971. Pakistan surrendered. Okay, so that is how the war ended, and we captured almost 90,000 prisoners of war. Under the India captured 90,000 prisoners of war, POWs, in East Pakistan, and Bangladesh was liberated. And of course, in this war even Indians lost many lives. I mean, we lost many soldiers. So, for in this war Indian soldiers also lost their lives, many soldiers lost their lives, but ultimately we defeated Pakistan. This is the first time in the history of India after 1948 war, then we can say the 1965 war. So, in the 1971 war, there is a decisive war, India defeated Pakistan. So, the war ended, 90,000 prisoners of war, and because of this war and the prisoners of war, then the issues related to the recognition of Bangladesh, finally the war, the final settlement of the war took place with the Shimla Agreement, or we can say the 1971 war ultimately led to the Shimla Agreement of 1972. So, that is how the war ended. So, Mukti Bahini forces and everything I already told you, and India actively participated, India actively supported the East Pakistani, the Awami League supporters, or the Bangla nationalists. We definitely, and we actively supported them, and the war can be termed as a unique one, because about the 1971 war, a couple of points I would like to add. It was quite unique. The first important point, why is it unique? Because it did not involve Kashmir. The Kashmir issue was not involved in this war, and please remember, in 1948, in 1965, in all these wars Kashmir was an issue, but in this particular case Kashmir was not involved. Number two, this is a war where East Pakistanis, or the Bangladeshi people, the East, and they wanted to get liberated. So, the East got liberated from the West. The East Pakistanis got liberated from the West, and it is also, this war and the liberation is a proof that it is a proof of the failure of the two nation theory. It is the proof of the failure of the two nation theory. See, please remember, why do we call it as the proof of the failure of the two nation theory? It is because the in the two nation theory, Pakistan repeatedly claimed, when Pakistan was created, or the Muslim League repeatedly claimed that Hindus and Muslims cannot stay together, because we are two different cultures, there is nothing in common between us, so we cannot stay together. But Indian national leaders, right from Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, all of them said, no, it is not like that. The only difference is in religion, everything else is same. We can easily live together. Religion is a private affair, you need not worry about that too much. But Pakistani leaders objected to that idea and said that we are two different nations, we are two different cultures. But this two nation theory also, that is what I am repeatedly telling you, the corollary of two nation theory is Hindus and Muslims cannot stay together, live together. That means Muslims can live together. So the corollary is all Muslims can live together, irrespective of geography, irrespective of culture, irrespective of language. Their philosophy, their claim was that all Muslims, irrespective of their location, whether they are in West Pakistan or East Pakistan, they can stay together. That is what they were claiming. But this war in 1971 and the bifurcation of Pakistan has proved that all Muslims also cannot stay together. That means the two nation theory, that very concept that Muslims can stay together irrespective of our geography and history, that theory has failed. That means we can simply say the two nation theory of the Muslim League, the Pakistan's Muslim League, failed miserably in Bangladesh, because they found that only because of religion, only because the religion is same, two people who are separated by thousands of kilometers apart and who have no connection, there is no similarity in their otherwise in the culture or in their livelihood, they will not be able to stay together. So this the Bangladesh, the dismemberment of Bangladesh, or rather the breakdown of Pakistan into two countries, is a proof of failure of the two nation theory. The very concept Pakistani Muslim League kept on telling that Hindus and Muslims are different, so they can, if they are separated, they will live peacefully. That theory has failed. Muslims, they created a country called Pakistan, West Pakistan and East Pakistan, and within 25 years they had to break down, because they have this culture, the language, the cultural traditions in two parts of the Pakistan were totally different, and they have proved that they cannot stay together only because the religion is same. So anyway, so that is the lesson we have learned, and the 1971 war ended and it led to the Shimla Agreement. I will be talking about that separately. So the first point, the first discussion I have made is that the 1971 war ended with the victory of India, defeat of Pakistan. First time, it is a major moment in the history of India. It is a watershed in the Indian history, because for the first time in 1971, India could defeat Pakistan. That was a major high point in India's history, we can say. Indira Gandhi led the war, and she could manage to defeat Pakistan handsomely. Just 13 days of war and Pakistan surrendered. 90,000, more than 90,000 prisoners of war with India. So that is how this war ended, but that led to the Shimla Agreement. I will come to that in the next discussion. Okay. So that is about the 1971 war.